Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Here I am. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. Sorry about that delay. You know, technology is great when it works, and sometimes we have little glitches, but welcome to New Life Live. We're going to take your calls for the next couple of hours at 1-800-229-3000. And today we are going to have Laura Mangin-McDonald, licensed marriage and family therapist, myself, who's also a therapist, and Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris will be joining us shortly. But you know, today is a special day. We're remembering it's Patriots Day. September 11th, 2001 was a day that changed all of us, and we can probably remember where we were at that time. And one of the things about Patriots Day is the remembering. And one of the things that they do at the service, the memorial service, is they name every name of every person that was lost in that tragic day. But you know, the other part of that, though, Laura, is that there are so many other people that then became sick, or they had the experience of grief from the loss of not only the city, the impact that it had on the city, but also the impact that it had on their own losses. And, you know, we're getting ready to do Emotional Freedom this Saturday. It's an online intensive. And one of the things that we talk about is grief. It's the place that a lot of people get stuck in. And I know you've worked their emotional freedom before. What would you say to somebody who is struggling in some area that they're stuck in their emotions and they need freedom?
Right. Well, that is an incredible intensive. In fact, the one I facilitated years ago, I am still facilitating the aftercare group for the group of women that were in that. So just to go to show you the power of the connection that they experienced in the intensive, still working with them all these years later. But, the emotional freedom, so many people, grief is probably the answer to 99.9% of our issues, unresolved grief. We have to be taught to grieve. It says in Romans, we grieve with those who grieve, but many people are taught just to, they want to logically try to rationalize it, make sense of it, and then to move forward. But we don't move forward from what we haven't moved through. And grief is the only pain that we willfully enter into. It's God's design. And that is really learned and understood that weekend. And one of the biggest things that I've seen over the years in my own practice and in this intensive is when we name our pain, that is 50% of the healing, which is remarkable. And just having another person sit across from us, I get it. That makes sense to me. That is so healing.
It's so surprising when you think about grief being something that we all go through. And of course, we cover other things on emotional freedom like depression and trauma, anxiety. We cover a lot of different topics. But with grief, it's one of those things that we will all experience. Every single person on the planet will experience grief. But your choice to walk into the healing, and I know you've had this experience where people just didn't even realize that grief was what had a hold on them. Well, listen, you can hear the music. We've got a great couple of hours ahead of us. We're going to answer some questions. We've got calls coming in. We've got some lines open. Call us at 1-800-229-3000. I want to say hello to our Facebook family, our YouTube family. Like and share there, because sharing is caring. You never know who needs to hear a little new life. And we want to share a lot of new life with all of you. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this break.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 1st through the 3rd. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I've had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. You got Becky Brown, Laura Mangin-McDonald, and Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris. We're going to be answering your questions for a couple of hours, 1-800-229-3000. And for those of you who are on Facebook right now, just a shout out that on Friday, we're going to do a special live Facebook. It's going to be me and Alina Alzru. We're going to talk all things recovery. And it's going to be a great conversation. And if you're curious about recovery, or maybe you're working recovery and you just want to have a little bit of new insight, we want you to join us there. Right now, we're going to go right to the calls, and we are going to take them at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk with Thomas, who's calling us from Boston, listens on WEZE. Hello, Thomas. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hey, guys. How you doing? No, really, I've just been wanting to call for a long time and just thank you because back in 1993, me and my wife had 5 kids by the time we were 25, but our 4th kid passed away the day she was born, and I know she went straight up to heaven, but I was pretty young, and I was kind of messed up, and I was listening to you guys. I happened to be up in New Hampshire at Winnipesaukee, and I just came across you on the radio, and there was some great counseling there for losing someone and about serotonin levels and how it takes like 2 years to kind of get free and clear. And I have my 5th kid on the way, too, who the Lord just blessed me to be totally healthy, but it completely straightened me out. Just 10 minutes listening to you guys. So I've listened to ever since, and it really set me on fire for Christian radio, too. So been wanting to call, been wanting to thank you, and it was just a wonderful thing.
That's awesome. Thomas, how's life been for you for these last few years since you last called us or talked to us?
Yeah, superb, tremendous. I never called or heard you on the radio, but I got a grandson now, and it's just, the Lord's just really working in our life. I mean, we had 5 kids, and then they saw a shadow on my wife's mammogram in 06. They saw a tumor in 08. I said, that's a tumor. They looked again. It was hiding. They sent us home. And the truth is, I saw the Archangel Gabriel in 2009, and he smiled at me. And then in 2010, the tumor flared up, and they found it in a self-diagnosis. And I told the doctor about the previous pictures. She looked at me like we were done. She took some new ones. They matched them up. The tumor had shrunk and moved to the surface. It's an impossibility. It was answered prayer. And what happened was my senior year in high school, I was like heading for football. I ended up with a kid on the way, and I was in deep trouble. I graduated high school June 3rd, married June 14th, kid July 18th, and I was going down for the count, and I was having a conversation with Christ, and I felt his presence. And then the next night, 3.2 million megabucks, Mass State Lottery. Me and my wife, we hit it. We were 18 years old, the youngest people ever. And then I was off to go on this mission of fighting childhood cancers and diseases. And so that all came back to pay off when she had the cancer battle. And now it's been 14 years, and the Lord's just shining bright now. We just got a grandson here that's just amazing.
Well, congratulations, Thomas. We're so grateful for your faithfulness to the Lord and how he has been faithful to you and your family. And we're so grateful that you called in.
What a testimony.
We have been helping people for a long time, and it's great to hear the news from people who have survived a lot of challenges and can see the faithfulness of the Lord. We're going to go back to the calls. We're going to take calls at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk with Alex, who's calling us from Gaylord, Michigan, listens on Sirius XM. Hello, Alex. How can we help you today?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Thank you for being there and providing the good support and prayer that you do for people out here that really need it, and just good job. I'm calling in to give a praise report. A few months back, earlier in the spring, I reached out to you. My son was going through some very traumatic things. He's a father of 30 years old. He has 2 young children. He's been divorced. His wife had been kind of doing a lot of post-divorce battering for the time frame that the divorce was originally granted, and even before that. And in the spring, he was accused of some inappropriate conduct with his children, and through counseling, apparently the kids were making statements of some sort, but there was no physical evidence or anything that anything had ever happened. And my son was completely devastated. You know, his children were the world to him, right? So the courts moved in, terminated his visitation rights, and then they were going to terminate his parental rights. And all this time, we've just been praying that God surface the truth, bring the truth to light about what's really going on, because we firmly believe that the statements that the children were making to the Child Protective Services workers and the counselors were collaborated. They were coached to do it. Well, just recently, in the last week, a witness came forward that was a close friend of my son's ex-wife. There was a major falling out in a relationship between the two of them, and she is a legal assistant at an attorney's office, and she said, I can't sit back and watch this happen anymore. Your son could be facing 10 years in jail with felony charges, which thank God no felony charges ever got pressed against him. But she said, I want to call and give testimony and indicate to you that the children were coached, everything was collaborated, and I want to make a statement to the police and Child Protective Services and clear this whole mess up. And I don't want to go into any other details than what I've given you. This is the beginning of a recovery for him and him being vindicated. But I just want to say, praise God, that he is faithful in answering prayers and that the truth is surfacing, and that he's got a ways to get. There's probably going to be some hearings back in court, and somehow this is all going to get worked out. But I pray for expediency. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Alex, the other part of that too is the healing going forward. Laura, you know this, and Jacqui, you know this is traumatic, even though this is a good answer to what the challenge was. But Jacqui, what would you say to Alex as he's in relationship with his son, and as they continue to go through this process? How can he support him?
Well, Alex, I hear the love for your son in your voice, and I can't even imagine how this must have hurt the family. And so there will be repercussions, leftovers. Right now, we're keeping our head up and we're fighting the good fight. But at some point, the win is going to happen. We're just going to trust God for victory. But then you don't shut it down. I think it's important for you guys to be able to talk through what this was like, how scary it was, so it doesn't get stuck in your body, and be able to tell this story. Grief, we say time heals all wounds, and I think what heals the wounds is how we talk about it, how we talk about the experience, so that we move through it and we don't get stuck. And then we're stuck with this open sore. So I would just encourage you all as a family to just be open to the hard conversations. We have a tendency to shy away from things that might make us feel some emotions we don't like. And all that does is keep us stuck. And so just please be open for yourself as well as for your son to talking about what this has been like, so that you can do the work. Because that's really what we do in trauma work, right? We're really helping you talk through and process some stuck places.
That's right. Laura,
hey,
what would you add?
I appreciate.
Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Right. Go on, Alex.
I just appreciate you saying all of that, because my son has built up such a mistrust with everybody. He's felt so burdened by all this, because he hasn't had the money to pay for an attorney, and he's felt so victimized, you know. But I really appreciate what you're saying. Sorry for interrupting you there. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm reiterating along the same lines that Jacqui was saying, that trauma gets trapped in our body, and we have this tendency to think, oh, I don't want to upset the person more by bringing it up. But actually, when we ask them, hey, how are you doing with this? We are validating the trauma that they're feeling in their body, and God's developed this beautiful, amazing neurobiological way for us to kind of think up our nervous system. So you can think of, you know how we take jumping cables and we put them to a battery that when the ignition won't turn. And so for you as a dad to go, hey, son, gosh, I've just been thinking about this, and it's my heart's overwhelmed. I can't even imagine with your heart. You have an open door with me. You can. I'm not going to have answers, but I will listen, and I'm here with you. And that's like taking those jumping cables, your nervous system to his nervous system, and making the ignition turn over. It's incredible how that works.
I love that. And
Hey,
Alex, you
that.
mentioned, you mentioned that he's having trouble with trust. Well, sure, he's been betrayed at the most core level. And I don't think a lot of times we think about that, but we talk about betrayal trauma, what that does to a person. And, the other part of this too is he has the perfect story to be resentful towards his ex-wife, but that's only going to do more damage. I think this is going to be a healing process, but Alex, we are thankful for the good report of, that there has been a shift towards innocence, and we are grateful for that. I'm going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, because I know that that's going to be part of his healing process. We're going to go back to the calls. We're taking them at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk with Nikki. She's a Club New Lifer. Thank you so much, Nikki, for being part of the family. She's calling us from Charlotte, North Carolina, watches us on YouTube. How can we help you today?
Hey, ladies. Hey, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, I have a friend that had four kids. The first child died back in 2017 due to a drunk driver. The child had just started college. That was a rough time. Okay. Second child died this past weekend. She had an illness and she passed away. So you open this, because I've been battling with this, and then when y'all open with grief, I said, I got to call New Life, because I want to know, because it's affected me too, because I've been knowing her ever since the 6th grade, my friend. So I just want to know, how can I walk alongside her and the family dealing with this grief?
Oh, Nikki, that is a heartbreak. Laura, let's start with you. How would you begin to comfort and help?
Gosh, Nikki, I'm so, the secondhand trauma that you're experiencing here is just devastating. It's just devastating. So I feel your pain also in this. The greatest thing we can do is be with. Again, going back to our nervous systems, just sitting with and going, I'm here. It brings Hebrews to full fruition. I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. That's what we need from each other, is to know we're not alone. Our tendency is to want to give answers to heal, but our answers don't heal. It's our presence that heals. And of course, you can say, if there's you can ask, is there anything I can do? But what my full-time role is going to be as your friend is, I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to cry with you. I am never going to leave you in this. If you need someone to stay with you while you sleep at night, she needs to know she's not alone. That's the greatest gift. That's what Job's friends did. Remember, when they finally came to their senses, is they sat with him and to help him along.
I love that. And Nikki, that's true, that you may feel like you need answers, but presence is an answer. Jacqui, I want to hear from you, and I know we're going to come up against a break, but you can begin.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend recently whose daughter died, and it was an adult child, but she was so devastated. And the thing that stood out for me that she said that I can't forget was who's going to hold me? She's single. She's a widow, and 2 of her 3 children have passed. And so in her grief, she just said, who's going to hold me? So just be there. I agree with Laura. Just be there, be present, be available. And she doesn't have to ever be okay when she's with you.
Yeah. Nikki, hold on. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back. But we were talking about grief in the open. That's what prompted you to call, Nikki, because all of us know somebody. If it's not us that's dealing with grief, we all know somebody who's going through grief. And grief comes in many different forms. It's not always just the loss of someone. It can be the loss of a relationship. It can be the loss of a job. There's all kinds of ways that we experience loss, and we need to process it, and we need to name it, and we need to hold space for other people. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk with you again, Nikki. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hit with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I would have getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown along with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Laura Mangin-McDonald. We're taking your calls at 1-800-229-3000. Right now we're talking with Nikki. She is one of our Club New Life family members, and she has a dear friend from just forever, right, Nikki? You've been friends forever. And she just had another child die. She had a child that died years ago from a drunk driver incident, and now just is saying goodbye. And Nikki is calling just to say, how do I help her? And Jacqui, you were just sharing about, the power of presence, but what are some steps that you would indicate for Nikki to go forward in this?
Well, Nikki, I also think you have to think about the grief you're experiencing too. And so one of the things when we do the emotional freedom workshop, one of the things I recommend is that people create a storyline or a lifetime line. And that can include grief. It could include trauma, but basically like looking back over your life and looking at your story and taking account of your life up to this point, and then making some decisions about where you want to go and how you want it to be different. When it comes to grief, you're not doing this to like change your life, get a new career, find a spouse or anything like that. You're just looking at the story to recount where you've been and giving yourself permission and space to sit with the stories and the memories you have of that person. And it's really helpful to do this with a trusted other. So Nikki, you could be that trusted other for your friend. And at some point, she may even can benefit from hearing your heart and how hard this is for you, because I know, if you were my friend from sixth grade and knew my children, you're Auntie, right? And so Auntie had a loss as well. And I think your friend may benefit from just knowing that you grieve alongside her, and that you can hold space for her to not be okay, to have some bad days, to have days she doesn't even want to be bothered with people, but at the same time needs to know that someone is there and cares and understands. And so I would show your heart too, so that she knows you're there and you're in this with her, and that you love those children right alongside her.
I love that. Nikki, how does that sound to you? Is that something that you feel like you can do?
Yes, yes. And I like the point that Jacqui made, because I know yesterday it was weighing so hard on me that it's like the grief, I was just feeling sick.
Yeah.
And I was just like, when I clocked out of work, I said, I just got to go to bed, because I was just feeling that weight. Yeah. So Jacqui, you made a really good point on that. So that's very helpful. It sure is. Thank you.
Well, bless you, and bless your friend, and we'll definitely be lifting you all up in prayer. Grief is such a heavy thing, and the burden of losing children, it just breaks my heart.
Because it's not the way it's supposed to be. But I love even just that you have been friends that long, Nikki, tells me the power of your connection. And that is, that's why you're experiencing this loss right along with her. But we're so grateful that you are there for her. We're going to send you a copy of the Grief Recovery book. It's a workbook that will help you process through some of that. And, if something that Nikki just said, or even, what Jacqui and Laura have already talked about with being stuck in grief, that's why we do the Emotional Freedom Intensive, because you can spend a day with us. You can hear great teaching from Jacqui, Chris, Steve, and then have a way to process some of what has been bottled up inside of you. One attendee said, I was stuck in chronic depression, anxiety, and outbursts of anger, but Emotional Freedom helped me get unstuck from a long pattern of isolation and unhealthy thinking. And man, I can't say it enough. Join us on Saturday. It will be a great way for you to get moving in your life. We're going to go back to the calls. 1-800-229-3000 is the number. We're going to talk with Marty, who's calling us from Frederick, Maryland, listens on WAVA. Hello, Marty. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
How can we help you?
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I'll start with my question and give you a little background. My question is, what should I do to get help? What would you recommend to get help for? I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety, attention deficit, being overwhelmed with decision making and trying to organize my schedule, and a lot of fear with my decisions and so forth. It's been a little more overwhelming lately, and it's even like a little bit of a little bit of adrenaline coming with that. So, and I've had a past diagnosis of social anxiety. I took Paxil for that years ago, but I no longer take that anymore.
Okay.
I am in recovery.
Great.
And I am on a recovery maintenance medicine called suboxone that I am really want to come off of. I've tried 3 times and was unable to do it because it's so difficult to come off of. It's easy to get on, but very hard to come off of. And
well,
so
Marty,
I think that's adding to my problem is the actual medication I've been on for better part of 8 years.
Well, yeah, it'll be complex. We have we have music coming up, so that means we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll have Laura and Jacqui give you some great insight. It sounds like you're trying to take account of all the things that could go on. And I know in recovery, we learn that, right? We learn how to take an account of our life in all different ways. But man, it can be a challenge when we get stuck in some place. But I think we get some help for you, Marty. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. We're grateful to be here, and we're grateful for the opportunity to speak to so many people who may never get any counseling, but yet they turned on the radio today. and heard something that's going to encourage them make a different step for their life. We'll be right back after this.
I'm addicted to oxycodone. I've been on oxycodone almost 3 years.
Addiction affects millions of people every year.
I've been on it for a long time, and I need to get off.
New Life can connect you with some of the finest Christian inpatient treatment programs in the country that work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs.
First it was for back pain, and I was on it for a long time. And then I currently just had shoulder surgery.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to illegal or prescription drugs, alcohol, or dealing with an eating disorder, it's time to seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers all around the country.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown along with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Laura Mangin-McDonald taking your calls at 1-800-229-3000. We are talking with Marty, who has been dealing with just some anxiety, ADHD, just feeling the pressures of that. You've also been working recovery, Marty. You're on a drug to help with cravings, but it still feels overwhelming. Laura, let's start with you. How can we help Marty?
And more lately for some reason.
Okay.
More lately.
Sorry.
More lately, you say.
Yeah, this is more recent.
No, it's fine. So I just have one question, Marty. Was there a triggering event that seemed to exacerbate this feelings of everything kind of rampant to the next level? Or have you found that you kind of ebb and flow on this? Okay.
It's just been always a low level of this, and I've always been able to manage it, you know, and I try to manage everything in my mind, and I can't do that anymore because I forget stuff, and I'm not very good at, I'm getting better at it, at writing things down because I know I'm going to forget. So that helps, but I have to get more disciplined in that area.
Well, Marty.
But the overwhelmness has been a little increased, and I have a lot of clutter going on in my house, and it's hard to organize that.
Symptoms of. All those are symptom behaviors. So I've got the $5 million answer for you, Marty.
Yeah.
It's called a fancy term that we use. It's called window of tolerance. And that is learned when we're little, during our formative years. We start out as a we, and we move into a me, but we have to learn. Someone has to contain our big emotions for us, and looking back in our eyes and see our mirror neurons that work like God designed, and going, I see you, Marty, I hear you, and I understand you, buddy. These are some big emotions. These are some really, and I'm going to hold these emotions for you until you feel like you're okay, but I'm right here with you, just like we were talking to the previous caller. I'm right here with you, not going anywhere, and we are going to get through this. And then what you learn, a child learns.
I believe that.
When bad when bad things happen, conflict happens, which is inevitable, we have a hope that despite how big it is, we're going to get on the other side of it, because now we have a point of reference in our neural pathways, the way the Lord designed us. So what happens is that what people try to do is they get aggravated with themselves and they try harder and they think, I'm going to kick myself into gear. But listen, we will never condemn ourselves into victory. Romans 8:1 tells us that. So you need some other people with you, kind of like we were saying again before Jacqui was talking to the other caller, is that for the people to be with you and accept all of you, help you accept all of you. And through a process, it's not a Tinkerbell turnaround, but it's a process. We're promised that you can get on the other side of this, and then all those other symptoms are going to begin to self-correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Can I throw this in there? I'm on suboxone. It's a maintenance drug for people with opiate dependency and so forth. And it actually is an opiate. So it's my firm belief that it is adding to my struggles and anxieties, and more the longer I'm on it. I've been on it for about eight years, and I'm just noticing that it's the anxieties and things of that nature, all about what I've been explaining has been increasing over time the longer I'm on this meds, and I'm getting ready to try to come off it.
So, Marty, one of the things that could be increasing the anxiety around the medication is that you see it adding to your anxiety. There's a part of our brain, the reticular activating system, that proves us right. So if you start looking for something, it's going to show you that very thing. It's how we get trapped in cycles where we're just learning the same information or taking in the same information and not learning new information because we believe what we already know. And so our brain continues to prove that to us. And so the medication...
And other people tell me too.
Okay. So the medication may be doing that. But right now, that's not the thing you can do anything about. It's You're going to need
Don't add fuel to the fire.
Right. You're going to need a process to wean yourself off of that. And it may be a very slow process. But before you start managing that, you might want to look at managing the ADHD and the anxiety that's coming along with the fact that as you're getting older, the adult ADHD is making it more difficult for you to make decisions, making it more difficult for you to keep your space clean, making it more difficult for you to be organized. You may have problems paying bills, showing up for appointments on time, maybe missing appointments, double booking yourself. There's a lot going on in your brain because of the ADHD. Add to that an opioid addiction, and your brain has gone through some changes that it needs some help, like some reconstruction to happen, right? So that you can create some new neural pathways, because you're set on a path of kind of chaos, it sounds like. And so I think you need either an ADHD coach or a therapist that specializes in ADHD, because the forgetfulness and missing things, all of that is adding to your social anxiety. People are going to be disappointed. People are going to be frustrated. You need people to be with you in these hard times. But if your ADHD is out of control, you might be difficult to be with sometimes for some people, because they're not neurodivergent. And so they just want you to settle down and clean your house and pay your bills on time and show up on time. And your brain isn't able to do that right now. So I would say, well, question, are you in therapy? Do you have a therapist?
Not at the moment, no.
And then the other thing is, I think the Emotional Freedom Workshop would be really helpful for you, so you can connect with other people who may be dealing with similar issues.
Sure.
Yeah, Marty, you said that you were...
It is.
Yeah, we'll connect you with that information. Marty, you said that you were in recovery. Are you working a path of recovery? Because there's a difference.
Oh, yes. I'm available to sponsor people.
Okay.
But
do you still have your own...
Make everybody do the program, but you can be available for them too.
Are you still going to meetings?
Go ahead.
What's that?
Are you still going to meetings, and are you meeting with a sponsor?
I have a sponsor, and I am capable of sponsoring other people because I've been in it for a couple years now. I've had, some relapses over the years as well. Trying to come off suboxone was one of them.
Right.
It's
Marty,
not a race, it's a marathon, but the rehab you go in, they want to take you off it in 1 month, and you just can't do that. I found out the hard way. You got to do it. It's a marathon. It's a gradual thing.
Right.
It's a very gradual thing. It's a back and forth.
I came very close last time, but I ran out of time, and I needed to go back to work, but I didn't have the energy to go to work, so I had to get back on the meds so I could go back to work.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, Marty?
Time and money.
Marty, Jacqui brought up a really important point in the fact that as we age, things are different. And so even in our recovery journey, in the beginning, it was different than where you are now. And you have enough insight into that, but you're also feeling the physical ramifications of, just everything from the addiction to the recovery part of it. Suboxone does impact us that way, but the answer isn't just to get off and hope that everything's going to be wonderful, but having people around you is going to be the answer. We're grateful that you called. I hope that the insight that we gave you will be helpful. We'll get you connected with information about emotional freedom and even the Life Recovery Conference. We would love for you to join us for that day.
That would be great.
It's tough because we really want it to be one and done, no matter what the thing is. I mean, even when we're experiencing depression, we hear people all the time that will say, I took the medicine, but it didn't ever make me feel better. But you can't just do one thing, right? It takes a lot of things. And it doesn't mean because of you're faulty in your thinking. It just takes a lot, and it's worth doing.
And it's about what Laura said about that window of tolerance. Sometimes we've just never developed a window of tolerance for discomfort. We, maybe grew up in a home where everything had to be perfect all the time, even when it wasn't. And so when things are hard, we think something's wrong. I talk to so many people who are going through grief or recovering from an illness or an injury, and they just want it to be better all of a sudden, rather than understanding this. It's a process and you're in healing.
This is why we are here.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's true too. We can get to the end of ourselves, and I love his willing spirit, but that's why New Life is here, because we know that it is a marathon, like Marty said. And along the way, you're going to need a cup of water. You might need a little sporting gel to keep you going, that next 13 and a half miles, whatever the pace is. We want to be there for you, and we are grateful for the donors that help us do this. Maybe you need to give today. Maybe you've been listening for a long time and you think, I love New Life. I want to help them. I want to help them reach other people. I want them to be able to continue to minister to so many people. You can call us today or go to newlife.com/donate. We'll be right back taking your calls after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries. We know that Christian counseling changes lives. We hear evidence of that every day.
My relationships with my husband, with my friends, with my family are much richer and deeper and honest. Particularly my relationship with God, I see Him in a more accurate form and begin to trust Him more. There's joy and there's peace because I have the internal tools that I can trust. So it's radically changed my life. I'm just not even the same person.
Our nationwide network of licensed Christian counselors means there is help available near you.
Take the leap, jump in, and go for it. It's changed my life completely.
You don't have to be stuck where you are, but you can't really expect to change unless you take action. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It could be the start of a whole new life for you. Christian counseling works, and we can help. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE today. Someone who cares is always there at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to continue taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. I just want to remind you that on Friday, we're going to do a Facebook Live event, which is free. You can join us there at 2 Central, or you can go to newlife.com, and there's a link there as well. If you're not on Facebook, you'll be able to connect with us there. We're going to talk all about all things courage to change. And sometimes you need a little courage to change. And me and Alina Elsrue, one of our incredible counselors, will be having this conversation. We want to answer your questions that you might have about recovery. We are always talking about recovery because we know it's the pathway to peace. Right now, we're going to go back to the calls. We're going to talk with Ann, who's calling us from Acadia, California. She listens on the podcast. You can listen there too. At wherever you get your podcast, you can download the New Life Ministries podcast. Ann, how can we help you? Thanks for calling.
Hi. I have an issue that I'm not sure how to deal with. 2.5 months ago, we took in a foster child, and I thought it would be much easier, and we'd be able to handle it, and I'm not handling it well at all.
Oh gosh!
And I really just don't want to do it anymore, but I believe it's the right thing to do.
Well, you called on a really good day, Ann, because Laura and her husband do a lot of work with foster kids. I mean, they spend a lot of time with them. How would you help Ann with these feelings, Laura? What can she do?
Oh, gosh. And first of all, I just want to validate the reality of what you're going through. Our church is a big foster adoption outreach. And so I, as a therapist, train hundreds of people at our church every year to work with the people who volunteer for us to put on this big camp. So, and I've been doing that for like 15 years. So anyway, one of the things I tell people is your heart is so genuine, and you're going to commit this time, money, everything to help this child. And then this child looks at you and says, get out of here. You can't help. There's nothing you can do that will move the radar on my screen here. It's your efforts are fruitless, right? Or there's something that has just kind of T-boned you in this to where you're thinking, I'm not prepared, right?
Right.
So I would be curious if you have someone, a licensed person, working with you on how to deal with certain situations. That would be the first part. Then the second part, what can happen is, I can promise you, anything that's unresolved in you, and if we're breathing, we have unresolved things in us, right? That's going to be triggered in this relationship with this job. Does that make sense?
It does. It does, because I feel like he's 14. He's a good kid. He's a really good kid, but I feel like my selfishness. I've enjoyed my empty nest. My husband and I have a great time, and it's just he's come in and just thrown everything out of whack. The financial piece is scary because we're not getting much support from the social workers and stuff. It's been really bad that way. And we took him in. He's a distant relative. He's my daughter-in-law's cousin's wife's family. But we're putting him in private school. He's playing sports. We're trying to support him to just really turn his life around, but it's very expensive.
Right, right. Well, I want to just validate one more thing, that your response of you're not selfish at all. It's called you're responding normal to an abnormal situation. And just remember that. And I'm sure Jacqui has some other great things to add.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I agree with what you just said, Laura, that the way you're feeling is normal. We had a family of 4 fosters at one point. And the then 11-year-old boy was rough. We had twin 7-year-old girls and a 5-year-old. And so it was an interesting year of our life, and it was expensive financially. So I want to go there first. I think sometimes, and I experienced this too, we just wanted them to have the best of everything, and really felt for them being in the situation that they were in. And so every dime that came from the county for them, we were buying them new clothes and taking them to Disneyland and just trying to do all the things that they weren't getting to do before. And it was very costly. And so we had to take a step back and think about our own resources and what we needed to do that was best for ourselves, because we couldn't be good for them if we weren't doing what was also best for ourselves. I know a lot of people hate the word selfish, but I'm a fan. I think we have to put our mask on first. And so in order to be the mom he needs, and you have to put your mask on first. And there are some good private schools. Putting yourself out in that way financially for a public school, maybe about some ideals you have about public school versus private school, but I would sit with that, because you might be struggling financially and not have to. In that way, at least academically, he could go to a public school, take that money back. I love the idea that he's getting involved in sports, or maybe he needs a tutor, or maybe he has to have braces. There are so many other ways that you can use those financial resources than paying for public or for private school, when public school will probably do just fine. Lots of us graduated from public school, and I have a whole doctorate degree from my public school education, right? So let them go to public school, take that money back, and so you can use that money for other things, for yourself, for him, for your family, and that way you're not having that burden. You said he's a good kid, so that excited me to hear that, because that was the hard part for me. Is we had some that were good and some that weren't, and it was really hard. But they're grown-ups now. My kids actually have a meetup scheduled with them. They still see themselves as siblings. My kids were 10th grade and 12th grade when we had them, and so that relationship still sticks. And as hard as it was with the 11-year-old, he joined the military and is doing great, and one of them became a nurse. I was a nurse when we had them. Both me and my husband are veterans. And so we had an impact. We got to have them for a year, but there was an impact. And so just know what you're doing matters, but you also have to take care of yourself and your marriage.
I was thinking that very thing. And you said that you were empty nester, so you raised kids already, right? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you remember that wasn't all rainbows and butterflies either, right? I mean, it's different when it's.
It's funny because I remember it as being, my boys reminded me, but I remember it as being not this difficult.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the boys are like, "No, Mom, remember we did that too."
Exactly. It's like childbirth.
And one more thing, have you seen the movie Sound of Hope that just came out?
No.
About foster kids, the truth. Well, okay,
no, I haven't.
Please look that up. It just came out. You can stream it, and it's from good old Texas, where I live, of this church that adopted all of these kids. But the biggest thing that is conveyed in that movie, and I, Jacqui was referencing, and I, when I work with foster training, is that we've got to help these kids understand they're crazy. Not they are crazy, but the crazy they went through. And that is the greatest. If we're going to put money somewhere, is to get a trauma therapist who can help them go, your body was remembering things before you even had language. Right. And that your body is responding, and it feels crazy when you look around and logically you go, everything's in place, but yet I feel like I'm going to burst into a million pieces and hurt someone, right? So it's just validating that. But watch that movie, because it will, gosh, I think it will just really make you feel better.
Well, thank you, Ann, for calling, and we're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids just to, for this journey. We're going to tape another show, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk to Elsie as soon as we get to that show, but you can call us. Thank you, Jacqui. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, listeners. We'll be right back after this break.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.